How do you turn a hexagon into 4 different coasters? For the first variation, you need 1 hexagon for the backing and 3 for the top. First, we're going to fold the hexagons in half on the points and give them a press. Repeat this step for all 3 hexagons you're going to use for the top of the coaster. Once you've folded and pressed all 3 of them, we're going to lay down the backing with the right side of the fabric facing up, and then you start stacking the folded pieces evenly around the bottom hexagon. And then tuck under the last one. And then you can add some pins and you're ready to sew. However, if you want to make one with 6 hexagons as the top of the coaster, here's what you need to do. Fold and press the 6 hexagons you're going to use for the top in half and give them a press. Lay down the backing with the right side facing up and start stacking them evenly around the bottom hexagon. And then tuck under the last 2 pieces you're going to lay down. It really helps to press on the hexagons you've already stacked, because if you try to tuck your last pieces under and everything starts to shift, it's often easier to just restack everything. So try to press down to keep them from shifting. Now make sure that the points that are actually touching the backing are aligned, because the part touching the backing is what's going to be visible after turning the coaster. To make a variation on the first 2 coasters, we're going to fold the hexagons on the straight part. Once you have the 3 folded pieces for the top of the coaster, place the backing with the right side up and start stacking them. So the cool thing about this version is that you don't have to line up any points. So even though if there's something shifting whilst you're sewing, you're not going to notice it in the end result. Stack them around evenly and then tuck the last one under the first. Add a couple of pins to make sure nothing shifts, and it's ready to sew. And for the last variation, you're going to need 6 hexagons folded on the straight part. When you get to the last couple of pieces, tuck them under and you're ready to sew. Add some pins and let's take a quick look at the different variations side by side. I'm going to sew them at 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch from the raw edge. And if you want to, mark the seam allowance. I find it's extra helpful at the corners where you want to pivot. Once you reach the points of the hexagon, you're going to put the needle down and pivot your work. And as I get closer to the point where I need to pivot, I use the hand wheel for those last couple of stitches. And as we're sort of sewing in a circle, I'm just about to reach my starting stitches. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I didn't backstitch then, because I'm going to sew over my beginning stitches now and then I'll backstitch. Since the sewing and the trimming part will be the same for all coasters, I'm going to show it just once, but all the corners need to be trimmed. After trimming the corners, reach into the center and turn the coaster right side out. Poke out the corners and give it a final press. And that's how you make 4 different coasters from one hexagon.